We have fire. It's burning down pretty good now. Just wasted all this time and effort. Let's give this another shot. Hello, welcome back to another episode from Pale Horse Survival and Tactical. I'm Bill, glad you could join me. Today we're going to take a look at the one-handed firesteel. Stay tuned. Accidents in the wilderness are always a very real possibility. It's very easy to get injured. And it's always good to practice techniques based upon an injury before that happens. It's always good to have a skill and not need it, than need it and not have it available. So what we're going to take a look at today is a technique to use a firesteel one-handed or one-armed. Say you fall, you trip, you fall. Usually what's going to happen is you're going to catch yourself with your dominant arm, and that's usually the one that's going to go down first. So say you take a spill, you trip over some rocks or whatever. It's real easy for something like that to occur in the wilderness. It's nothing like walking in the city on sidewalks and streets. Of course, even the pavement can be uneven and you can hit a curb, and I mean, I've done it, and you wind up taking a face plant on the concrete. But let's invent a scenario. Let's say we backpacked in. It's a solo trip. We've gone in, it's about a 2-day hike, and we're quite a ways in, and you trip over something. You go down, your dominant arm goes down to catch yourself. Say we hit the ground, folded a forearm, snapped it. So now we're down to our non-dominant hand or arm. Typically the strong arm, the weak arm. My strong arm is my right. My less strong or less dominant is my left. So let's say we went down, we broke a forearm. Pretty bad break. Typically not life-threatening, but definitely needs medical attention. Can't use the hand, so now we're down to our less dominant arm. Now let's say that it's about an hour until nightfall. Temperatures are dropping off, so obviously can't pack up your gear and hike out. So there's a big risk of hypothermia. So let's say we have about an hour to get a fire going, and we do have a firesteel in one hand, one arm. So what do? Well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to get creative, and there's a few different ways that we can do this. I'm going to teach a very easy way. I'm going to demonstrate a very easy way of doing this today, and some of the other ones are a little shaky, a little harder to do, and it takes a lot more dexterity. So I want to try and show something that is pretty easy to do, and for the majority of people. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to prepare some tinder. Stay tuned. Okay, so for our choice of tinder, we take a look around here. We have lots of pine needles. The issue with pine needles is they typically will not take a spark from a firesteel. unless they're processed down further. And that's going to be a little more difficult to do one-handed. Pine needles being very coarse, but this is a coniferous forest. There's lots of pine needles. Looking around in the immediate vicinity, I don't really have any dried grasses. There's really no bark here that I can use. So I do have a lot of deadfall. A lot of deadfall around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can I can do my best with a feather stick. Get some curls, try to get them as fine as I can. And we'll take it from there. So we've got a lot of deadfall down here, so gather up. And I'm only using my left. My right's holding the camera, obviously. In a little bit we'll do a wide shot as I start to go to work on this. So let's grab a couple of these. This one ought to work. Let's see if we can get some shavings and some curls off this. And how am I going to do that, you may ask? I have a log right here. That's going to act as a second hand to hold the knife. I need a baton. One that I can wield one-handed. Should work pretty good. Alright, I'm going to set you guys up on a wide shot here. Okay, should be able to see me pretty good there. Right hand, I'm going to keep it up here by my stomach. That's the injured arm. Get my knife out of my sheath here. There we go. Hammer the knife in. It's nice and secure. Let's see what we can do here. The bark off. Doesn't appear as though it wants to feather very well. It's very dry, which is a good thing. Yeah, that definitely does not want to feather. But we're getting some curls down here. It's definitely not going to feather, so I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to work on this and get a pile of, work it down and get a pile of curls. And these should take the spark of the firesteel pretty well. Just grab some of this off the ground here. And I'm going to keep the camera rolling just so nobody can accuse me of cheating using my other arm. There's a knot there. Shave it from this side. If you have a bushcraft knife, a good knife ideally should be full tang, and it should have a very sharp 90-degree spine, very sharp, and it's easy to put a nice sharp edge on it if it does not with a file. But once you start using your non-dominant arm, you really realize you have to work almost twice as hard as you normally would. In order to complete a task. It's a really good exercise to do. Well, now I'm getting some curls that are it's difficult to control this and not go too far and wind up cutting the curls off. Just like that. Once we get the shavings to take the spark, then the pine needles, they'll ignite pine needles. Pine needles have a high amount of resin, so they're very flammable. So you need your material down, worked down pretty fine in order to take that spark, that initial spark. Pretty good pile here. I'm going to have to transport these shavings over to the fire pit. I'm going to grab these and run them over there so we can get a pile started. I would like a lot more than what we have here, so I'm going to grind some more of this down. Ideally, I'd like a pretty decent size pile there. Stick has a nice vein of resin on the inside. This is pine. Run this over to the fire pit. Really difficult to control this one-handed. I've got a few here. Well, not very good, but it's better than it was. Grab some more of these curls down here. I'm losing probably half of what I'm grinding off, but unfortunately the log is round, as logs are. We may have enough to give this a shot. I'm going to run this over to the fire pit. Whoop, almost used my right hand. Grab the stick there. Alright, we'll run this over here. Okay, I'm going to take the camera over here without cutting the scene. Let me get you set up over here. I'm going to retrieve the knife. Okay, what we're going to do here is take a stick. You have to get the right diameter. You don't want to be too high above your tender. You want to be too low neither to where you're hitting it. Kind of grinding it back and forth in the dirt to lower the height. I'm going to retrieve my firesteel. Okay, so to make this work, get a stick, and the diameter, you don't want it too big, you don't want it too small. You'll have to kind of use your own judgment on that. And again, you need that 90-degree edge. Is so important. I keep mine very sharp. It's one of my old fire steels here. Place your foot on your knife. We don't want it to come up though, just like that. That'll keep it from moving around. There it goes. We're just coming out of winter time, so the deadfall I don't think is completely dry. I believe that's why it took a while to take a spark there. I hope all of you enjoyed the video as much as I did making it today. Please like, subscribe, and share. I want to take a moment to wave a hand to all of my new subscribers, and definitely a big thank you to all of my old subscribers. All of your support and viewership is very much appreciated. And I will see all of you very soon on the next one. Everybody take care. Bye-bye. I wanted to take just a few moments to talk about fire steels. And this is a 1/2 inch by 5 inch ferrocerium rod. I have a little rubber grip on the back side. I don't even know what this came from rather. I just found it one day laying on the ground, and it fits the rod perfectly, and works as a nice little non-slip grip. What I wanted to talk about specifically, I see a lot of people, they strike a rod and then they turn it, and then they strike it and they turn it. The proper way to use a ferrocerium rod, and you could probably see mine was throwing a lot of sparks with very little effort. There's two reasons for that. Number one, I have a very sharp 90-degree edge on my knife there. Two, when you strike a rod, pick a spot, and of course when they're new they come with paint. That's why they're black. Pick a spot and then stick with that spot. And what's going to happen is that's going to start flattening down. This one's been used a lot. It'll flatten down, and what this does, it increases the surface area to your 90-degree spine. You're going to throw a whole lot more sparks than you will with that little round radius. With the round radius, only a very small part of your 90-degree spine is actually throwing spark. But with this big flat area, and I'm down probably 25% of the way into the rod, the more you use it down to the 50% part or halfway into the rod, it's just going to get wider, and that presents a much larger surface area, and it throws way more sparks than it does off of this little off of the little radius. So just a little tip. I don't think I've ever seen anybody else talk about that, and I like to tell my students that when you start striking a rod, just stick with the spot that you initially start with. Make sure it's flat, and this whole thing will flatten out as you use it. It just makes the rod much more efficient. Anyways guys, little tip. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.